Okay.
All right.
You freaking frick.
Did we just miss out on content?
Just turns out this entire time all of our audio issues have been just Zach not turning on microphones.
Just still post like his video of him talking and be like, can you figure
Can you solve the secret quest?
Can you find all American regions?
All right, so welcome back to Bionicle 112. I actually changed the board this time. And if you'll notice, there is a brand new addition on the board. Since 2008 is really dense, 2009 is... That's about how I feel about the entire fucking year with Bionicles. Just... Because we look at 2008. 2008 is like the highest peak, just at the apex, the climax, if you will, of the entire series so far. We had 3 books, we had like 7 comics, we had all of these different, little sub-story things we had to learn on. 2009 gives us like 5 things. It gives us, yes, Chris.
Out of these 5 things, did they make toys of them?
Yes, they did, Chris.
Fuck you, Tristan!
By merit that the toys are involved.
I was not ready for Al yet.
Oh, well, I mean, the blades have been crossed, and speaking of battle, that's gonna be the entire fucking thing of 2009.
Giant Bionicle war.
I mean, okay, so yes and no, but I hope you like fucking Bionicle gladiators. 2009, we get the 4th movie. If you'll notice, it's only been about 3 to 4 years since the last movie. Kind of not great. Also, we'll get into the new movie in a sec. There is really only like 1, maybe 2-ish books in 2009, and like some like, oh, this was like posted on a web forum, and then it was all put out in English, except that it was only ever like physically or like tangibly released in Polish. There's no official. It's so weird. It was
Polish?
Yeah, of all things. Remember, like way back in the beginning, where it was like, oh, remember in the first book, Tale of the Toa, where like the Hungarian version just have. I don't know what it is with like the Eastern Bloc just like getting random more bits of things. Also, Russia apparently had a whole bunch of Bionicle stuff going on.
IP theft. They used to be the kings of IP theft. All those dirty communists.
I mean, but this is like this is like late 2000s at this point. So.
Yeah, they were still kings. It wasn't until like 2009 that China came out of nowhere. Okay.
We just happened to be in 2009 then. Yes, Tristan.
What is Lego? Because Lego's like German or Polish.
No,
or
they're Danish.
Danish. That's what.
Yeah. The Danish.
They're like the Brits.
The Dutch. I don't know. So we get the movie. We get like 1 to 2-ish books, maybe. We get 3 sub-story serials, and really only one of them is anything anyone should care about. And then we get, I guess, it's like 4 or 5 comics or something. That's all whatever. 2009 is wildly uninteresting for the most part. For me. Insofar as that, and this is also why, like, I know we talked about last time that Greg Varsity says that he knew in 2008 that, oh yeah, this series is going to be canceled for sure, and it's already been canceled, so we're just going to do the big reveal this year. He says he knew that. My retort is, anything that could have saved Bionicle from being canceled died in 2009. Because, like I said, 2008, we get, a bunch of big reveals. And I'll do a quick recap, because, like, Tristan, I know you weren't here last time, about what we kind of covered up in the last little bit. Man. I'm sorry. I'm just having, like, PTSD flashbacks of 2009 right now. Because of, like, so they finished off what was essentially this. 2008 is what they made to be, like, the halfway point. Not quite 10 years, because remember, they originally planned the series to be a 20-year story. The 10-year half mark. We got to 8. That's pretty good. And then that was going to be the jumping point, I guess, to the next decade of Bionicle, which we didn't get. And even then, like, I don't know. So before I do any of this, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick recap because that way we'll be able to get you caught up to just what we missed here for anyone who just was like, oh, I need a quick refresher. And then I want to talk about a little bit of Bionicle in the current day and field some questions out first before we start moving on to the disappointment that is 2009 onwards. So, what you missed last time. All the Toa get into the giant metal Kodrex ball sphere thing because they were fighting the Makuta and stuff. A bunch of Makuta start having an internal political war with themselves and start killing each other off. Mostly Makuta Gorast, the friggin' mosquito-looking bitch. That's her right there. Mosquito-looking bitch Gorast. She actually did most of the Makuta killing. Because reasons. And it was pretty brutal and awesome. Good stuff. Takanuva, Toe of Light and Shadow, because he kind of got hit with darkness and stuff, found a way to free the Shadow Matoran of being under the possession of the Makuta's Shadow Leech stuff. The light was returned to them, evacuates all the Light Matoran out of Carda Nui. Along with this, the Toa Nuva managed to get into the Kodrex, convinced the Toa Ignika to basically be a defibrillator for the Great Spirit to bring him out of a coma. The Ignika does not like this at first and almost kills Toa Tahu. And then they convince him, like, hey, remember that dude Matoro? And he's like, yeah, Matoro was so cool. It was like, if you do this, you can be like Matoro. And he was like, bet. So the Toa Ignika sacrifices his physical corporeal form and returns to just being a mask and in the center of this metal sphere in the middle of this giant swamp in the core of the universe. And the Toa Nuva get these sick-ass fucking flying vehicles. They're super fast. They hop on those, and they jet the hell out of there because lightning storms come in and vaporize everything, including all of the Makuta who still stuck around. Which, good meme, Makuta Pterodax being like, I'm going to send all my top generals in to do this mission, and it's going to involve all of them dying at the end, so no one can oppose me.
The ultimate Baraka.
The ultimate Baraka.
What if there was
Speaking of ultimate Baraka, Vizon, our best insane boy, has been fused with the Kanohi Olmec, the Mask of Dimensional Gates, because he got hit by a tidal wave of energized protodermis. The Toa Haga, Makuta Miserex, Axon, Brutaka, and Toa Helrix all get transported, or have all found their way through one way or another, being either transported or finding their way into a super secret special room in this place that is called the Core Processor. Makuta's voice, Scary Terry's voice, is kind of echoing from all around. What's going on with this? Also, there's two organic beings that were in the room, but they're corpses now because they're super dead. But nobody knows how they got there, whatever. Matanui is awakened. Makuta Pterodax. I said that he transported all of our cast there away, except for Helrix, who he said, yeah, Matanui's biggest thing is that he just never had like a confidant to like talk to and stuff and keep him sane. So I'm going to keep you here and do this. Mistake on my part. Zaktan was also in there in a fishbowl because he's a little like scary sperm now, along with the other Baraka. Because Zaktan knew what the plan was, Pterodax just vaporized him out of nowhere. Oh no! Now there's only 5 scary sperms. And then Makuta Miserex basically was like 1v1 me and Scary Terry. I said he teleported him out. That is incorrect. He turned him into a painting. Makuta Pterodax looked at Scary Terry, I'm sorry, at Mizrax, and went, hey, you remember that one villain from that Zelda game that could turn people into paintings and stuff? That's me. And he's like, I've never played Legend of Zelda. He's like, well, then you'll miss this entirely. And turns him into just a portrait on the wall. This turns him into a 2D graffiti art on this, and everyone's just like, what? Yes, Tristan.
Since Bionicle, are they just like little stick figure fucking doodles?
I guess. I don't, well, Mizrax is like a giant dragon looking thing for whatever reason. I don't know.
But I feel like we haven't seen any like art in the Bionicle world.
This is a very good point. There is like a
so I have to imagine like caveman drawings.
This is a very good point. There is a vastly distinct lack of any like drawn or carved medium outside of just text in the Matoran universe that we've seen so far. So that's actually a really weird point that I've just never thought about.
I'll give him Egyptian at best. On that
just a little hieroglyphics. It just looks
like the level of like the paintings.
The crudely drawn, some drawings.
Jokes on you, they just crushed him into the wall so much they just Makuta's just like
rip, big rips all around. So also at the same time, the Makuta's home base of Destral, their teleporting island, was teleported right outside of Metro Nui. Full-on invasion force trying to attack the city of Metro Nui. You've got Exotoa, you've got Rockshi, you've got various other Dark Hunters and some other stuff. It's, trying to fight Metro Nui. You've got like the Tomari, you've got the entire Brotherhood of, the entire Order of Motunui pretty much fighting there, as well as some other races that they have bargained with, or other groups that they have collaborated to fight the Makuta and wipe them out of existence. All of a sudden, giant tower on Destral, destroyed, awful. Rockshi, terribly destroyed. Exotoa, destroyed. Everybody's running away. Hooray, we did it. Metro Nui, we've won. The Makuta are defeated. Motunui has been brought back to life. All of the Toa Nuva make their way back to Metro Nui. Time for a celebration, guys. We did it. Everything's great. Oh no! Look up in the stars. The stars start to realign themselves and turn it into the Kanohi Krakan, the Mask of Shadows. That's the mask that Scary Terry used to wear. In fact, I think yeah, you can't really see it on here that much. And then we get the big final reveal. And we find out
show them the map first. Show them the map first.
So this is a really cool thing in that, we have Makuta's Diary to the Universe. And this is like one of two books that kind of make a set.
Makuta's Diary to the Universe?
Makuta's Guide to the Universe.
Oh,
my apologies.
That'd be even better.
My apologies. It might as well. It is, because he has like journal entries in here on stuff, on like him like reflecting on different.
I'm so angry all the time.
How does victory feel? What is its scent? Its taste? Blah 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 blah.
Just what it's
It does say Makuta's Diary though. It does, right up there.
Yay!
Yeah. So we were correct. And at the very last pages, before I guess it's not the last pages, because after that it's like the appendix. But the last pages, they give us finally a map of the Matoran universe. I'm going to show this to you.
Just using his shit.
Yes, this is what it looks like.
What does it look like, Tristan?
What does it look like, Tristan?
Bonkle.
A bonkle. All these islands. All of them. All these crazy different islands. Yeah, of course. Take a quick...
I'm curious about the crazy waterfall time.
Yeah, everyone was. Because it was like, there's two waterfalls under a continent and above in the air on both, what? That doesn't, there's islands that are above other islands that connected by a sea, but below that.
To interpret that this is not a flat map and this is a vertical map, if that makes any sense?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. This is the point, and they did a video with it too, called The Rising, and one that was called The Truth. And The Truth is like narrated by the guy who's been narrating Bionicle stuff forever in like commercials, and it just explains everything that's going on. And let me fucking tell you, go ahead.
Does this shit start moving and that's
Oh, you're goddamn right, it does.
Motunui?
It is Motunui. Motunui is a
robot.
He is a 40, I think it was 40, it was either 100, it changes. Sometimes it's 100 million foot robot. Sometimes it's a 40 million foot robot. Yes.
Did they make a toy?
They technically kind of did. And we'll get to that in a bit. Because, so the giant thing is, hey, all of a sudden there's this this visual of the island of Motunui just being destroyed as a giant robot face pushes up from under it, and up stands from this giant watery world a big ass robot. The Matoran universe was a yes.
One more very important question.
Yes.
The southern continent. Is this where the Spermiparaca are?
Yes, that's what.
No, technically, no. Zekaz is where is it?
Don't take this away from me.
Zekaz is way up here. This little island up
No,
there.
Zexas is over there.
Oh, you're right. You're right. But I mean, like, you get to see like where Voyanui was. This is where originally in the chest-ish torso cavity.
We're in his heart
all along. You've got Odina, it's home of the Dark Hunter base. You've got Ninra, who cares about them. You've got the island of Vizrak. Fuck those dudes. They're dead now. All of the oh yeah, I forgot to mention. All the Vizrak are dead. All of them. Count them. All of them are dead. All of the Vizrak are dead. All of them. A giant eruption from a volcano. It's like Indiana Jones, but with a bunch of spiders, and they all die.
Not snakes?
Not snakes. No. The sea snakes, the little sea spermies, they're still hanging out.
Smiling. They're so happy.
They're so happy, except when they're not. Trencrom Island, it's a whole fucking thing. But yeah, like massive million-foot tall robot. That's the whole thing. The Matoran are basically just red blood cells running around his body. The Toa are basically white blood cells fighting off shit that's just making stuff weird. You've got Metronui. Why it's so important? It's the brain. It's the frickin' brain.
Isn't Makuta the brother of Motunui?
So we briefly mentioned this in one thing, I can't remember here. When they start really getting into more of the lore starting in 2006, and they start revealing that there's more than one Makuta, they kind of also allude that a lot of the stories, a lot of the lore they gave in the early years was just made up bullshit that the Turaga just told the Matoran because they were like, we don't actually know if we're ever going to get back to Metro Nui.
Sons of bitches.
No, we were deceived from the very beginning. They made the whole thing up because technically speaking, the Makuta are supposed to be the brothers of Motunui in a very like loose camaraderie sense. And he technically was, but they only say there's one Makuta. They don't explain even from the beginning that they're like, oh no, Makuta is a race. It's not just one dude. The Metro Nui, why it's so important, why anytime anything as terrible has gone on in Metro Nui, it fucks up everything for the rest of the universe. It's literally the brain. And that's where all the important stuff happens. So yeah, and unfortunately, because the stars start to change, guess what? Motunui is not in control of the Great Spirit robot. Pterodax is now Ultra Giga God.
Let's go.
Oh, he is.
Terry.
Oh, Scary Terry is God. And he has explained to everyone that he has sealed Motunui in the Mask of Life, the Kanohi Ignika, and just fucking ejected him out into space. Oh, also fun thing, you remember that? Yes.
Are we gonna get astronauts?
Don't. We'll get there. We'll get there. Also, an interesting other thing they talk about is way back when we talked about the Great Cataclysm happening, there's like, oh, there's this weird just double eclipse, and there's two suns. It's like, yeah, those are his fucking eyes. Those are his eyes, and they were closing because he was going into a coma. This giant robot. The red star, well, it turns out it's actually a propulsion booster that just kind of hovers around in orbit waiting for the Great Spirit robot to call on it so it can eject itself off of a world.
Oh, okay. So they're not on his body. They're
in his body.
And their sky is just like...
They're projected, yes. So the way that it's described is that the Matoran universe is constructed of a series of concentric domes, like dome spheres, that connect by channels. So it's just like a bunch of ball joints throughout the entire thing.
You're fucking telling me, for 10 goddamn years worth of fucking lore, we've been listening to fucking Osmosis Jones?
Yeah, pretty much. We've been
you're where we were like last
fucking bullshit.
We've been listening to sci-fi, more sci than fi, Osmosis Jones, but more robots. And or for those of you that are weebs, it's kind of like Xenoblade, but Instead, they're on the
Look,
inside.
It's alive.
It's Rhine time.
I thought you were gonna say cells at work.
I'm really finished. I mean, cells at work too. If you're super weebs, also a thing. Yeah. So that was the big fucking reveal that they put at the end of 2008, and that's where they kind of just leave us for a second. So, is at this time that I would like to field any questions anyone has pertaining to any weird things in the, like, any story stuff. Yes.
Do the water levels go down when he makes pee-pee?
No, this does not. Well, okay, that's an interesting point. So we talked about earlier how there was a lot of like flooding the swamp area in Cardanui. That was because he was under the fucking water. The two waterfalls were giant damage points in the robot. So you had where it was like when all the Toamari and stuff were out in the pit and there was mutagenic water, that was because the actual ocean planet they were on has mutagenic water. Where they're like, oh, if you go into this part of the water, it's fucked up. But if you stay pretty close to this side of things, you'll be okay. Yes.
Are we to assume that there's more of Matanui's race, the same fucked up shit going on in it?
More big robots.
Possibly. Who knows? Who fucking knows?
They don't ever answer that.
I mean, I'm not. We'll get into things. And so where you had the double waterfall was one of the islands literally ejected just out of his chest cavity. And so you had the outside where you had like Mari Nui, which is under the water, which Voya Nui had pushed up through the chest cavity onto the surface of this water world. Below that was Mari Nui, which is like on the outside-ish of the giant robot. And then that leads to like the first waterfall, which leads back to the inside cavern of the southern continent. So that's where the first waterfall comes in. The island being pushed up left a hole in the continent it came from, which leads to Cardanui. So that's where the second waterfall comes in. So it was just water. He just had like duty water just kind of pouring into his body for like 1,000 years, and that's why he wasn't feeling so well.
Oh, is that why Bionicle is such shit right now?
Yeah, it's it definitely did not lead to greater things on there. So that's more or less like where you get like the double waterfall thing and the cavernous spaces, and also how you could have like Montanui is up here, Metronui is down here, but Voya Nui is up here, and Mari Nui is somewhere down here, but it's not underwater. But it is underwater, but Metronui is not underwater.
Yeah, unless he's fucking waving, then it's way the fuck up.
Yeah.
That shit pisses me off, dude.
Yeah, I know. So this is like an either you really love the twist and you're like, oh my god, it's so cool, or you really hate it because you're like, why the fuck did they do that?
Oh, I think it was awesome if I was 12.
Oh, it absolutely was. Yes.
So, okay. So, Makuta knew this.
Yes.
But Makuta is a race.
Correct.
But the other Makuta didn't know this.
Correct. So the way they found this out was way back when I was talking about in the Mutran Chronicles, when Mutran went to go talk to Tren Krom. Tren Krom was the original like AI being, the giant sphere of tentacles and horrors. He was the original like deity put into place until they installed Montanui into the robot. Mm-hmm. When Tren Krom went to talk to him, he learned all of this. And it made him insane because he was granted knowledge that just he couldn't comprehend, but then understood. He relayed this to Makuta Pterodax when Makuta Pterodax was like, maybe we should take over the universe. What do you guys think? And Mutran was like, well, I have all this horrifying eldritch knowledge now. And I'm going to tell you, this is how it would work. This is how we need to do things. These are where you would need to go if you wanted to take over the universe. All of this. So that is how they found out. And that's why like none of the other Makuta were like in on the plan. Okay. Anything else we're coming up with?
No, I just feel like I wasted my time now.
I know. Oh, you haven't no, you haven't yet. No, you haven't yet.
2009's worse, I'm assuming.
No, it's
and we're here today.
It's not a fun time. Yeah, exactly. Trying to think of any other cool things they talk about that make, oh, that's why it makes sense now. Oh, the other thing, Mutran learned from Tren Krom how the Bohrok work and how the sonic activation for whatever reason, and that's how Makuta was able to activate the Bohrok back on Montanui and make him run amok or whatever, which was another weird thing. One of the orders of, one of the, so this is more or less why they kind of put the, that Toa of Sonics Krakua into things, and they made him a Toa all of a sudden. They're like, oh yeah, this is Matoran. Remember, he's a Toa of Sonics. Remember him? The reason why they brought him back into things is so they could use him to emulate that sonic signal to waken all the Bohrok again, to defend Metro Nui when they were being attacked. That was like the I guess they're like, well, how are we gonna, if we're gonna make the Bohrok be able to be controlled by sonic vibrations and signals, like, how are we gonna do that? And I'm like, remember those Toa of Sonics we made from someone's fan submission when they were like 9? So that was a weird thing, because they don't do much else with that character, except just remind you about how irrelevant he is. Man, it really is depressing talking about it, because it's like there's just such great buildup, and then there's this twist, and it's like, okay, well, where are they going to go with this? But at the same time, we already know in retrospect, because I've already told you, like, this doesn't go for much longer. That
we're in 2020. And
yeah,
it's not going.
What they should have done: override cockpit. Fucking your boy, what's the total wife's name? Can't remember.
Takanuva.
Yeah, Takanuva pilots him like a fucking gun and fights all the other ones. That would have been sick.
That'd have been sick. It'd have been sick having giant thing. So yeah, this is the universe that we're left into at the moment in the story. Makuta Pterodax has taken over the Matoran universe. He has taken over the Great Spirit robot. He has ejected Matanui out into the depths of space in a mask, and everyone in the universe is just like, "Fuck, guys, what do we do?" So let's talk about some stuff that's going on in the Bionicle, in real world stuff with Bionicle, because I mentioned before that, like, I mean, obviously I'm here talking about this. Obviously, like, the Bionicle community still exists, and it only exists because people still love talking about the series. They love a lot of the characters, especially early on stuff. Like, the original, like, first 3 years is really nostalgic for a lot of people. They kind of are like, man, I pine for that, before everything got way too dark and edgy and complicated. But sometimes some of the complicated stuff is kind of cool, man. I don't know. And so with everything that's happened so far, obviously, like, we're coming to an end of toy lines upcoming. But we have a lot of characters that have never had toys made of them. And so in this past year or so, TTV, which is like a Lego forum group thing, they talk about a lot of, like, different new Lego products, but they also have some dedicated Bionicle stuff. They started to basically get in contact with Greg Farshtey to basically have him just sign off on things as this is now canon, even though he's not really involved with anything, and hold a series of contests to make canonized depictions of some of these characters, such as Toa Helrix, such as Artaka or Lariska, and a few others here and there. So far through the year, the first one they did, which was the most fucking hilarious thing, was Toa Helrix. Now you go, okay, well, how are they gonna have this contest? So what they do is they go, okay, you have this much time, you have to build you up a Bionicle, take a picture or whatever, and hear whatever, send it to us, and then we'll just have public votes on this. And as anyone who has ever been on the internet for public votes can tell you,
Apple Mountain Dew.
oh,
Nice, massive.
let me tell you about Bendy Helrix. So you had, like, a bunch of submissions that were, like, super dedicated, detailed, like, very articulately designed. People had worked really hard on these, you could tell. And then you had some that were just, like, actual shit posts. And one of these was literally a head, a blue mask, and hoses for arms and legs. And it was absolutely a shitpost. The creator of it did come out and was like, no, I just made this as a joke. But because the internet is the internet,
They picked that one.
because the community is how it is, and because a lot of people do not like TTV in the Bionicle community for some reasons or another, mostly having to deal with some of the personalities who are behind a lot of the things on them, but also a little bit of, like, the absurdity of, why are we having a canonization contest for characters we haven't talked about or anything that any story relevance in 10 years in 2020? Why? And also, like, that just because Greg Farshtey signs off on it, that doesn't really mean shit. Greg Farshtey is an example of someone who absolutely took the Bionicle universe and the series in a really cool and neat direction. moving away from like Kathy Hopka's writing, but at the expense of not having a good fucking editor. Like half the stuff, as far as things being convoluted and having to retroactively change things or things being really weird, it really just comes down to Greg First just not having someone to like bap him on the forehead with a newspaper and go, no, that's stupid. Try again. Because I mean that's the thing we see in a lot of different storytelling mediums is series that are ultimately saved and improved because there was a good editor who's like, I don't think that's a good idea. Maybe you should do something different. Or are made terrible because no one ever actually told the authors that, hey, maybe you're just dumb and maybe we should try something else. So a lot of people are kind of mixed on how to feel about this. This led to, even in like the top 6 was like 5 pretty well, amazing, constructed ones, some more than others. There was a little bit of debate on like design style because they talk about that like Helrix in depiction has like a mace and a shield and like has ancient armor, like unlike anything anyone's ever really seen because it's so old. And the top 6 were like hyper intricate. This looks like something that came out of Gen 1 back in like 2004 or like 2003. Super intricate. Helrix. Bendy Hose Helrix. And let me absolutely assure you that there is some fuckery afoot. Because all of the votes, when I say all of the votes, I mean the vast majority, like the winning percentage, seems to have gone to Bendy Helrix. And I mean, a lot of them went to another one as well, because eventually it started to get to the point where the community was, you had the anarchy chaos side, the Vizon side of things, if you will.
I like the hoses.
They want hoses. Hoses have power. So bendy, so rippable. And then you had the, no, we need to take this really seriously, guys. We can't let Bendy Hose Helrix win. This is super serious side of things.
The internet's just Vizon.
And the internet is just Vizon. And so pretty much everyone was like, who wasn't voting for Hose Helrix, Bendy Helrix, was voting for the one that kind of looked like a 2003 one. Not to say that it's a bad design. It just uses some parts and stuff that feel very like 2003 in design. And then it was literally just versus Hose Helrix, and everyone was expecting Hose Helrix to win because there was just no way. And then finally, the day comes. They've announced who the winner is, and they go, not Hose Helrix, and everyone is immediately like, because everyone was immediately like, if Hose Helrix wins, it proves that democracy is real, but it also shows how shit of a community this is.
Apple Mountain Dew.
Apple Mountain Dew. If Hose Helrix loses, it proves that democracy is dead, and the mods on the TTV forum absolutely interfered, and both sides were being accused of doing bots to kind of vote for extra things here and there, but that they looked at it as, well, even though this was the democratically elected one, we think this one is the one that should, because we recognize that this one was just a joke. And that the community is still absolutely awful. There's no winning for the community here. Yes, Tristan.
Is this your secret way of luring us into a political discussion with you?
No, absolutely not. But I think it's but I do think that it is very interesting that it happened in 2020, in this election year. It is incredibly coincidental. Like, what a timing thing.
Using that bots word a lot.
Yeah. I mean, there are robots. So, of course, they come out with a whole thing on like, oh, well, we noticed that there was a lot of bot voting on both sides, and after we tallied out which ones were the real ones, which ones were not, the not Hose Helrix is the winner. And it immediately just soured the mood for everyone, because everyone who wanted, because, once again, the Vizon group was like, this is stupid. And if Hose Helrix wins, it proves how stupid this is. But if Hose Helrix loses, it proves how little this actually matters and that our voice doesn't actually count.
So
You can't win because then we'll call them the God, we'll call them the Toa side of things because they have to play by the rules of everything, and it's not fair. Because I can't think of a character who is really complaining about stuff like that off the top of my head. Are like, the internet chuds, they don't respect the series, and we need it to. So it was a huge clusterfuck overall. Everyone is generally very about it all. But the second one went off without a hitch, pretty much. It was for Artaka's design, which we'll be going over a little bit here in the story. And that one went pretty off without a hitch. Congratulations to the winners of the Hellrix thing as well as the Artaka one. The Artaka one looks pretty badass, I will say. And then I think the next one is Lariska that they're going to be doing. And I don't know how it's going to work yet. But basically they divided the contest between, you have someone who has to, and it has to be all buildable parts. Like you actually have to build these to submit your things. So they had that one. And then they were like, well, a lot of these characters wore masks that we've also never seen. So you would have like a second part of the competitions where someone would draw up what their perceived version of the mask looked like. They'd send things off to Greg Farshey. He just writes a check mark on them and goes, good effort. And says that it's canon now. Yes.
I just imagine Greg Farsley's in this fucking coffee table. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I don't fucking give a shit.
Oh, it really feels like that. There was like I said, so the interview I was talking about earlier that was like, he was like, oh, I knew in 2008 that it was going to be ending. A group did an interview with Greg Farshey very recently, like within the past 2-3 weeks. And just watching him in that video, listening to him talk about and respond to the questions that were being asked made me just go, one, I wish they would have just gotten some better questions to ask instead of the same shit that he had probably been asked for like the last 20 years. But also just how tired he just seemed of everything involved with Bionicle. Because almost every answer was, yeah, nope, this is the thing, and I'm not really involved with it anymore. And yeah, it was a thing. That's whatever. It was all, yeah.
No offense, but if I had to answer to 1,000 motherfuckers that are still into Bionicle, I'd probably be fucking tired too. I
mean, I can't blame you, especially when all the questions are like so very similar to each other.
Does love exist?
Does love exist? I mean, it's still people ask about this, and it's completely pointless, and we'll explain why. That question has sort of been answered as time has gone on. So yeah, that's been a good meme. Updates a little bit. Craney, the developer that was making that sick-ass Bionicle game, I showed you some of the trailers and stuff for whatever. They've gotten some more updates out. The reception has kind of gone back up a little bit. Lego has officially kind of endorsed it and said, okay guys, you can keep making this. This seems really cool. We like the idea. Just don't make money off of it. Don't fucking make money off of it. Pretty much. Because while it is not like it is not being billed as an officially licensed Lego thing, they're not going to pursue any legal action unless it starts coming to money.
But it needs microtransactions. We have to be able to buy it. We have to be.
That's facts.
I need my V-Bucks.
Season 1, new mess. Season 5, you just get balls.
Oh my god. Could you imagine?
Do they drink in the water?
And they turn into sea squids. Squid launcher! Squid launcher!
You fight a boss and you never see him again.
Yep. So, yeah. And on top of that, they recently got the original voice actor who did a lot of the commercials and stuff. Now he's going to be voicing some stuff for the game. And I was like, that's kind of actually really cool. Getting some people Christian Faber of Advanced Media, who once again did a lot of the marketing and design for a lot of stuff Bionicle, recently also made a post about an article about the game. And it's like, okay, cool, we're getting more love though. So it's improved in reception, I feel like, as opposed to when I started and it went from being, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever made, and I love this all, to a few short weeks later going, the developer lied to us and he hates us and this whole game is gonna be destroyed because it's running on a friggin' StarCraft 2 mods, and it was just a bad time in general. But we've moved on. The year has been a year, so I guess people had more things to worry about. But other than that, I mean, there's a few other Bionicle side projects and games that have been going on. At one point, a group of people did actually, remember there was supposed to be that PC Bionicle game that was going to tell us. Apparently, at some point, a bunch of people got together and finished out making the game. Just finished out making it and made it free to download. And you can do that. Biomedia Project, which is merged with Mask of Destiny now, has a giant like resource site for pretty much everything and anything Bionicle related, as far as just like, well, I've talked about it before, but I mean, if you want to read all the books, if you want to read the comics, if you want to see the movies, with the exception of the last one, which is just I don't know why. I don't know. Probably because Nickelodeon was more involved with that one. But yeah, other than that, I mean, that's been all the more recent stuff to kind of look at there. I mean, obviously there's more fan projects that have gone on. Bionicle would go on to spawn a Generation 2, which took a lot of emphasis and theme from the first 3 years of Bionicle. But we're not here to talk about Generation 2. We're only talking about Generation 1, because that's the only one I care about. And let me tell you, I absolutely do not care about 2009 onwards. Like, Bionicle, for me, died in 2008, when they did this reveal.
Is Generation 2 worse?
Or
just not your cup of tea?
Generation 2 is just not my cup of tea.
Okay.
Because they did a halfway thing of like, we'll have the 6 Toa. They'll still have all their names. They'll have elemental powers. There will be an emphasis on masks. Matanui is nowhere involved. Makuta is still the bad guy. The new guy's name is Ikimu? And there's like...
Makuta Ikimu?
No, there's Makuta. He's got the... there's 3 great masks in there. There's the Mask of Creation, the Mask of... I think the... I don't remember. It's like the Mask of Destiny or something, and the Mask of Ultimate Power! And so, like, they kind of did a little bit more in trying to really grab people for their nostalgia of, like, the first 3 years of Bionicle with it, but didn't really commit to it. Also changed a bunch of, like, character traits. Like, Pohatu is just a dick. Like, arguably best boy Toa in the series so far is just a raging asshole.
What year was this?
2014, I believe.
Oh, okay.
It was 2014, 2015, or maybe it was 15 and 16. I can't remember. It was one of those.
Yeah, no one missed it.
Yeah, exactly. It was literally, it was a flash in the pan and it was gone. They did do an animated like Netflix series as well for some stuff. And I mean, it's all right. And I mean, obviously, like a lot of the pieces got better in design, because after Bionicle, they would go on to do Hero Factory, which would go on from like 2011 to 2014, I believe. And then they dropped that, and they introduced a new kind of series of how to build stuff or whatever, and they carried a lot over that to the next one stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
So it did a Sonic Boom where it was like, here's Knuckles, big chonky
yes.
boy.
Wait, speaking of which, yeah, that was another. I mean, that was a neat thing though in the Generation 2. Even though we're not really talking about Generation 2, is that they did a lot of interesting different build shapes for the different Toa. So they didn't just look like palette swaps. They looked like they had a lot more like different body shape and style. Like Onu is a big old beefy boy.
I don't know why they add one of those, like, every time. They did that with the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, too.
Yeah.
Raph is, like, big, buffy, bulky boy.
Yeah.
And, like, Knuckles was big, buffy, bulky boy.
He just skips leg day. Yeah. But, oh well. So, yeah, well, we'll go on that. But all right, so let's go ahead and start going into what 2009 actually has. And a lot of it. And I'm going to skip around some little stuff here because there's just a lot of stuff that it's like, why even care? So, 2009, we're going to be starting not with a book, not with a movie. We're going to be starting with Reign of Shadows, which is a story serial. One of 3 this year. The others which deal more with some other stuff. So pretty much basically Tahu and some other member, like everybody's on the run. Everybody is hiding. Matoran are being forced into working endlessly. A bunch of the Toa and Orders of Member Matanui and just even Dark Hunters are scattered around the universe. They're hiding and running from Rockshi, from Exo Toa, from some groups that have started to align themselves with Makuta. We start with like Tahu, and I think it's Lariska there, and it might be Watcher, one of the other Dark Hunters, and some other various people. They're hiding out on what was the island of Karzani, and they get snuck up on by, you know, some Rockshi and some Exo Toa, and they're trying to weigh the odds, and it looks like they're just gonna get smashed. Onua digs up from under the ground and does a bunch of stuff to fuck them up. Tahu and Onua starts having a discussion about because everyone's like, what do we do? How can you fight the wind and the sky? Like Makuta has won. He has taken over everything. Like, how do we win? And they kind of make this observation that Makuta has only been in control of the Matoran universe for about 3-4 days. And that is nowhere near long enough of a time to be able to fully be able to mentally handle taking over a universe. There's too much to see. So they feel like that if we can just start causing enough trouble all across the Matoran universe and giving him too many places to try and keep up with at once, it will prevent him from being able to start to acclimate. And then we'll be able to find some way to defeat him. Which is whatever. So this leads to, so also in the interim, Makuta Pterodax has destroyed and killed every other Makuta living in the universe. All the Makuta are dead, except for Mizrax, who is a painting on the wall, and Scary Terry, who's in charge of everything. A buckload of Order of Member of Matanui's members have also been wiped out. Their home base has also been wiped out. Because Tahu was like, hey, you know, what happened to that weapons cache that all the, you know, the bunch of Order of Member of Matanui were going to set up? And Onu was like, yeah, no, it's gone. Like, it's been destroyed. The Rockshi, the Exotua, they've gotten their hands on it. Order of Member of Matanui's dead. Just horrible destruction, everything. So they start to plan to meet up with some of the other Toa and stuff and send word to each other to go ahead and do some stuff in there. Kind of skip over back to Metru Nui. Some of the Matoran, our favorite Matoran, some Maku, Kapura, some of the others there are kind of like hiding in the archives to escape doing slave work and are trying to figure out what to do to try and send help to Toa, whatever. And they wind up meeting our favorite female Toa villain, Toa Tuyet. Toa Tuyet's somehow alive here? I don't know. So basically Toa Tuyet explains that after she was kidnapped by Botar, with the whole Lacan thing or whatever, she was taken to a universe by Botar and Bertaka, to a universe where Toa did not exist. So she couldn't use the Nui Stone to absorb any Toa power because the Nui Stone the fragments had been absorbed into her armor. So there was no way for her to absorb power. While they basically interrogated her for the past 3,500 years and tried to, I don't know, get more information out of her. I don't know. She eventually convinced one of her guards to let her go, and they faked her death, allowing her to escape. Where she has spent like the last 1,000 years trying to find the jump home. And has been absorbing some power on the way since. She gets back and she's like, you know, what's going on? And they explain, you know, okay, so here's Makuta, he's done all this. And she's like, ugh, the Makuta, they went crazy wild. Like, this would have never happened if I had just used the Nui Stone and Lacan hadn't stopped me and we got in a Toa Empire together and killed them all. Completely just cementing the fact that no matter what universe you're in, Toa Tuyet is always going to be like this almost like just insane person. Just bent on Toa domination. But that didn't happen in this one. You know, he's like, well, you know, Makuta knows, you know, everyone knows every Toa, you know, whatever. And she's like, well, no one will know me because I haven't been around for like 3,500 years. So we'll be able to move around more covertly. At the same time, Vizon, our favorite best boy, is jumping in and out of realities. He has fused with the Kanohi Olmec, but has no control over it, and has just been zoopity-bopping all around through time and space. A lot more erratically than Takanuva was. Until he finally lands in one dimension on a giant desert planet. He gets there and notices that there are a bunch of Toa, but also a lot of like, or maybe it was he gets onto Metronui, or Matanui or something like that. And it's just a bunch of other beings there besides a bunch of the races he's familiar with. And he walks up to them and, you know, he's trying to figure out what's going on. And, you know, they explain that, like, the Toa system still exists. He's talking to a Matoran. And they're like, you know, well, who are you? You know, you don't look like any Toa I've ever seen. And he goes, ah, yes, a Toa. I am Vizon. Toa of Anarchy, which just further cements that he is just the best. He is the best. And he starts thinking about, like, man, this place is crazy. This place is cool. I'd probably take over this place. And all of a sudden, the world freezes in front of him. Everything stops. He can't interact with anything. He's like, what the crap is going on? He starts hearing a voice talking to him. And it's like, hey, yeah, no, you can't do that. And he's like, well, why not? I'm the Toe of Anarchy. I can be crazy cool. It'll be a good time. And the guy's like, well, you're not crazier than me. And Vizon's like, is that a challenge? The voice explains that he is a great being that has frozen him. He is one of the great beings. This voice has frozen time and space in this dimension to stop Vizon from being able to do things. And he is imprisoned somewhere. And starts telling Vizon about this, and he's like, now we will both be prisoners together. And Vizon's like, so what you're saying is, you want me to break you out of jail. And if I break you out of jail, you'll break me out of jail, right? And the great being's like, oh, I guess, sure. Okay, maybe we can do something like that. That'd be cool. We're going to go back to Brothers in Arms, because Mazeka and Voltraz were fighting in the Swamp Secrets before everything went crazy. They fell into a giant portal. On the opposite side of the portal, they have landed on a giant planet where there are some familiar faces, some not so much. And they get introduced by a being that is about their size, walks up to them and is like, oh, where are you guys from? And they're like, oh, we're from south, or who are you? It's like, oh, I'm Toa-Maku. Now remember, they were the size of Matoran, but here is someone saying that they are a Toa. And they're like, yeah, we've got some of the Matoran over here, and they're all the size of what the regular Toa would be. And like, whoa, and so Mazeka is like, whoa, hold on, what the frick is going on here? I'm like, oh yeah, this is welcome to Spherus Magna. This is our planet here. And it's like, yes.
Did they make toys of reverse size Toa and Matoran?
No, they did not. This is Spherus Magna, and they're like, oh, well, why? How's everything? And they're like, and Toa-Maku's like, I mean, you already know, why? I mean, you helped in the restoration of everything. And they're like, yeah, of course we did. Sure, but I love to hear the story. I love to hear the tale of this. And they basically explained that on this planet, forever and a half ago, the great beings were on this planet of Spherus Magna, and there was a huge global terraforming crisis that was about to happen. And so what they did was they created some bioorganic mechanical beings, with the larger, taller ones being named Matoran, and the smaller ones being named Toa. The smaller ones were given elemental powers and abilities, and were able to work together and use their elemental abilities, whatever, to prevent this terraforming catastrophe, save the planet. Everything's great. Which is like, oh, that's weird. And they're like, well, listen, like, we're from somewhere, but we need to find our way to get home. We're a bit lost. And so Toa-Maku's like, okay, well, maybe I can help you, take you to the great beings. They're like, okay, that'd be great. So they go to this maze, and they go to meet the great beings through one connection or another. And the whole time, Voltraz is like, man, Mazeka, I'm just going to live here. I'm going to live here this entire time. There's no way I'm going back to that universe. I'll just live here. And I'll kill everyone. I'll take over everything. Easy peasy. Mazeka is like, no way. You are coming back to the universe with me, and then I'm going to kill you over there. And Mazeka has no qualms about wanting to kill Voltraz. They are mortal enemies. And he's going to make sure that they are very mortal. So they end up getting led to this great maze on this planet, Spherus Magna. And they're introduced to basically this council of the great beings. And the great beings are like looking at them like, interesting. Also, interesting, the guard that came in to lead them looks very similar to one of the most important characters we've met so far. In fact, Mazeka almost like jumped out of his robot skin when he looked up and saw it was fucking Makuta Pterodax standing there with them, but all white and gold. In fact, all of the Makuta are here, all in white and gold, being beings made by the great beings. And apparently, and it's revealed to them that basically that they were created by the great beings to help with the reformation and prevention of the terraforming and stuff, but Makuta is a title that one can only achieve after basically eliminating all darkness out of their being and doing a bunch of good stuff. And so that's what the Makuta are. They're just ultimate good protectors now. Weird. Crazy. So they go inside. And also, Scary Terry, who's not so scary, more like Mary Terry. Mary Terry tells our two friends that basically he's already read their mind because he has telepathy. He still has all the powers of Makuta in the Prime Universe. So he knows everything about where they're from. And goes to the Great Beings. The Great Beings immediately sense that they are not from this universe and are basically just talking openly. They're like, yes.
Wait, no, fucking back up. He goes over there after realizing they're not from the universe, and then all of a sudden the Great Beings are like, oh yes, of course, we knew that you were not.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this is weird. We were aware that there's multiple temporal abnormalities in different timelines and universe. We knew that. We already knew all these things. We just knew these things, and the possibility would eventually exist where some beings from one of the alternate potential universes would intersect with ours or whatever.
Fucking Pterodax rolls his eyes like, yeah.
He's like, God, fuck, we get it. There's a reason you're called the Great Beings. We get it. Jesus Christ. Sorry, Matanui. Well, he doesn't exist in this one, actually. So, the Great Beings go, yeah, but that thing, something fucked up our creation. That red one, Voltron, something fucked him up. We're really curious to see. So, here's what we're going to do. Hey, Misaka, we can get you a way back to your universe. And in exchange, to keep the balance of them, we'll allow you to take one person back to your universe from our universe. And Misaka's like, okay, well, no, I really want Voltraz, because he needs to be stopped. And they're like, no, we can't let you do that. He's too interesting. We're just gonna have to dissect him and do a bunch of experiments on him, because we want to figure out where he went so wrong and what fucked up one of our masterpieces that in your universe. This is really interesting. So, I mean, we can send you alone, or we can send you someone else. And Misaka's like, Bring Mary Terry.
Yeah.
Let me take Mary Terry back to my universe. And they're like, okay. And Mary Terry's like, I guess I'm going with you guys. Yes.
Mary Terry toy.
No Mary Terry toy. There are parts available that if you wanted to construct it, theoretically, you could. Just because of color swap differences. Yes.
Man, I got some rust dough in the truck. We can paint that bitch gold real quick.
That being said, there are actually two versions of the Kanohi Kakan in a shiny gold. One is more rare than other just because it happened to be like early on print of the set to make weird spiders. It's weird, I don't know. But both are still kind of hard to get, one more so than the other. But you could technically make a gold and white Mary Terry if you wanted to.
I wanted to.
Oh, you wanted to. Let me check the time real quick. Okay. So Mazeka was like, wait, you can't leave me. And Voltraz was like, wait, no, you can't leave me. And Mazeka's like, sayonara, dude. And they go back to the Prime Universe while Voltraz is presumably tortured and experimented on and reconstructed and deconstructed for however long that the Great Beings desire to inspect him and stuff. So now, all of a sudden, Mazeka and Mary Terry are just in this canyon somewhere deep down south. I'm like, all right, let's get on going. And we'll go ahead and take a quick break here, and then we'll get back and continue on with 2009 stuff. So, break. All right, we're back. Welcome back to Hell Year, which is just really disappointing. So we finished up Brothers in Arms pretty much, which will lead us into Reign of Shadows, which is basically, we were talking about it a little bit already with Tahu and crew deciding they're going to go around the universe causing shenanigans to try and stop Scary Terry from being too scary. Eventually this will lead us to Toa Liwa is just hanging around doing stuff, and because they're investigating and trying to find, Toa Liwa finds Artaka's island, where it's already under siege by Makuta's forces. Makuta is winning. They haven't breached the walls yet, but Artaka is basically, Liwa's like, hey dude, can you fucking come out and help us? Like, please, like, you're one of these like super powerful beings that we know about before, and why are you sitting up in your city walls? Like, you're not coming out and help us. He's like, no, it's too late. No, I can't really do a whole lot, but there is someone who can. You need to go find them. And Liwa's like, who the hell is that? And he's like, Tren Krom. And he's like, what the fuck is a Tren Krom? He's like,
sorry, one more time.
Tren Krom.
Tren Krom?
Tren Krom. Trenkrom.
Okay.
Trencrom is, Trencrom likes 3 things. He likes to
Women, weed, and weather.
crush his enemies, to see his enemies driven before them, and to hear the lamentations of the women.
Yeah, he sounds real chill.
Yeah, pretty chill. I'd rate him a Conan out of 10. So Leo gets transported to the island of Trencrom, or Trencrom's island. And immediately, spooky giant testicle monster comes up and is like, oh, I'm Trencrom. I'm spooky ookie boy. Let me know what's going on. I'm going to invade your mind. And here, and totally was like, okay, look, but seriously, like, he's like, yeah, I know why you're here. Artaka sent you here. And I'm going to have to I could go do stuff, but I'm going to need your body. And Lee was like, ooh, that one's a little weird. I don't know about that one. But by the time he has already said, he's like, oh.
Lee was green, right?
Yes.
Yeah, when that fucking jungle boy here, he needs your body. He was down.
He's like, I've hung around in enough jungles to know how this goes. Wait a second, those aren't vines.
Oh, Jesus.
It's the fucking trees from Evil Dead.
Brilliant. He's like, we'll do anything. And Trencrom was like, I mean, you said you would do anything. And it's like, wow, this became a really weird episode of Casting Couch. So, Toliwa decides, he's okay. Swaps bodies. Now, Toliwa is stuck in Trencrom's body on the island, can't do anything. And Trencrom's like, sayonara, sucker! I'm gonna take your body, I'm gonna go do cool stuff. Because I've been trapped on this island forever. He's like, wait, but he's like, yeah, no, I promise I'll go do the stuff that I was supposed to. But after that, enjoy your imprisonment. Have fun. And Toa Trencrom leaves the island and suddenly teleports into the fucking what's it called? The core processor, where Toa Helrix has just been sitting there listening to Makuta just talk and suck himself off this entire time for weeks and weeks and weeks. And she's like, oh my god, I just want to fucking die. She keeps looking over at Mizrex on the wall, just like as a graffiti spray paint art, and is like, fuck, you got off easy, dude. Brutaka and Axon have eventually started making their way up from a bunch of islands and met up together and have busted their way back into the core processor as well. Additionally, Toa Helrix and some of the Matoran have also found their way into the core processor. And so everyone is here trying to figure out what, because Helrix has just finally just sat there and gone, all right, we lost the battle. It's time to do the only honorable thing and commit Sudoku. I'm ready for this.
Sudoku?
Yes. I'm going to charge up a big-ass Nova Blast and destroy the core processor. And that will kill everyone in the universe, but fuck Makuta. I don't even give a shit. And at the same time, everyone comes in and Brutaka and Axon are like, no, you can't do... Brutaka's like, no, you can't do that. Because he's still possessed by the Antidermis. So he's still glowing green from all the Kyle juice and levitating and stuff. He's like, no, guys, you can't do that. We've got a mission. This is a bigger thing to do. And Axon's like, no, maybe Helrix is right. Like, maybe we should just go ahead and destroy the universe. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know that would be a better idea. And then, let's see. I want to say there was another person who shows up too. But, oh, no, wait, never mind. Yeah, there was some other person there. I was supposed to be there, I think, but I can't remember who it was. Because Helrix is like, oh, no, guys, no, we actually just need to we just need to kick Makuta out. We just need to figure out how to kick Makuta out. Helrix secretly thinking, and after that, I will take over the great spirit robot and be the next ruler. And so the lines are suddenly drawn. You have on the one side, Toa Helrix, Brutaka, and, oh, look this, Toa Liwa shows up. And Toa Liwa is like, what is up, my dude, guys? And they're like, that's not how Toa Liwa speaks. He's like, yeah, it's not. What up, boy, Trencrom? What's good? And they're like, okay, well, what are you here for? He's like, oh, Artaka sent me to come help out and stuff. And oh, Makuta's in the robot? He's like, ah, that's cool, whatever. And Makuta's like, there's nothing you can do about that. And he's like, that's what you think, dum-dum. And Trencrom, in the body of Toaliwa, looks at the painting on the wall that is Mizrax, and he walks up to it and like taps it. He's like, interesting. He's not dead, but almost convinced that he is. And just poof, unpaintifies Mizrax. Mizrax is now back in 3 dimensions, coming to a theater near you, or never. Because Mizrax is like, oh, where is Pterodax? And they're like, you dumb, he's been here this whole time. We already went over this. It's been a few weeks. Where have you been? On the wall? He's like, oh, shut up. So he's like, I need to kick Pterodax's ass, and I'm not gonna let that, and I'm not gonna die if I'm not gonna let, shut up. I'm gonna kill Pterodax. And so the lines are drawn. On the one hand, you have, what is it? You have people who should say we destroy the universe. On the other hand, we have people who say you should. So the people that say we shouldn't destroy the universe, you have Brutaka, you have
Axon.
Tuyet, and yes, the claw. So Brutaka, Tuyet, and I believe Trencrom are all just like, yeah, no, let's not destroy the universe. That's a bit drastic, and we can still work out of this. On the other hand, you have the side that says, no, we should totally destroy the universe. Fuck Makuta. Fuck everything he's done. He's destroyed everything. There's no way we can win. The only way to get out of this is to kill ourselves and get rid of our shame and dishonor. Yes.
Didn't they just spend all of fucking 2008 trying to save the universe?
Yep, they sure fucking did. And Helric's like just switched on a dime. She's like, nope. The 2 to 1, I can't deal with this. Time for everyone to die.
He had to listen to a talk for like 4 weeks, and he's like, fuck this shit.
Yeah, she's like, oh, fuck this. So it's Helrix, Mizrax, and Axon. And immediately everyone starts clashing together. And Trencrom doesn't have Toaliwa's air elemental toe power abilities, but he is also still an Eldritch Abomination that can just fuck a bunch of shit up. And they're getting into a fight, and Axon's like, I don't want to fight my friend Brutaka. We just became friends again, and now we have to fight again, and this is awful. I hate this. Wah. And then all of a sudden, a green and gray figure wearing a super ornate golden mask that is like the finest mask ever crafted, kicks in the door with a giant hammer and goes, everybody shut the fuck up. I have the biggest dick in this room. And you're all little tiny babies just yelling and squabbling about. And they're like, who the heck are you? And then they're like, it's me. And they're like, it's you, Artaka. And Artaka is revealed here, finally, in a physical form, though we've never seen him at the canonization contest. Now it's a form for him. And he goes, hey, Trencrom, I see you're still in that body over there. Thanks for helping Mizrax out and being here, but you can go back to your island now. You did your job. And Trencrom's like, no way, get real. Drinking out of cups. Seashell, see hell. You can't do anything, Artaka. And Artaka's like, okay. And just mind swaps Trencrom and Liwa over vast amounts of time and space and puts their bodies and spirits back together. And Liwa's like, where am I? He's like, you missed a lot, kid. And then all of a sudden, Pterodax is like, all right, you guys, you're making a little too much noise down there. And I hate all of you. So, bye-bye. And teleports Helrix, Tuyet, Axon, Brutaka, Artaka, and a lot of Takas. And Liwa and Mizrax out into space. They're just in space now. They're floating in space. It's not a good time.
He just shoots out of the great belly button.
And so yeah, they're just floating in space. It's pretty awful and terrible. Meanwhile, Mezeka and Mary Terry are making their way through things, and Mezeka is explaining basically what has changed and what gone on in the universe and what they've got to deal with. And they're like, that's why we have you here. And he's like, exactly, because we both could think the same way about things. We could probably figure out what Pterodax's plan is and do all that. And then in front of them appear 3 shadow Takanuvas. Because, in the voice, like thunderous voice comes from the clouds. It's like, interesting. You brought a different version of me from another universe, but you can't stop me. I'm too powerful. I'm the big boss or whatever. And there's 3 Shadow Takanuvas, and Mary Terry is like, well, that is interesting. You got some elemental Toa Darkness dudes. It's pretty interesting. And beats them all to death with his giant hammer. Just destroyed this group. Just destroys them entirely. Mazeko's like, whoa, man, that was wild. You know, you came from a universe. You guys are good guys, like the good guys and stuff, whatever. I didn't expect you to go to do that. I mean, it's literally him describing, like, he hits one of the Shadow Takanuva and it destroys the mask immediately. Leaves him all. Another Shadow Takanuva comes up and he hits him so hard in the chest with a hammer that the Shadow Takanuva just splits in half. And, like, there's another one that all we know is that one part of him went that way, one part of him went that way, and there's a bits other around. And Mazeko's just like, man, it's like, I didn't think you'd be able to do that. You know, the Toa usually frown on that kind of thing with their whole, like, not killing and stuff. And Mary Terry's like, yeah, you know what, maybe they could have learned, maybe this universe wouldn't have been like this if they just learned to bend the rules a little bit, seeing as how things are.
It's like, oh man, your rules of Toa are really, really helping you out with
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you fucked up God.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, pretty much. And so, so now at this point, Scary Terry he's kind of getting a little tired of all this. He's like, I sent Machanui out into space in a giant mask, but that's not good enough for me. I'm going to go destroy the mask. I'm going to go find it. I'm going to search his whatever tracking signature.
Oh,
I don't know. Like, Makuta Pterodax is just nothing if not thorough. And he's like, I'm going to destroy the mask. I'm going to destroy everything. It's going to be great. And I'm just going to crush it on my big old robot foot. I'm going to, Now you're dead. And so the Great Spirit Robot just keeps on going in space. As everyone is suffocating in space from our group from before, Makuta Mizrax is the only person who's like, yeah, this vacuum of space isn't that bad. It's whatever. I felt colder. And Toaliwa goes and puts a thin layer of air around everybody, and they all link hands to, like, be in this air pocket bubble and go, all right, guys, what the fuck are we going to do? How do we get back? I mean, that thing is leaving. The robot is leaving. What do we do here? And it is at that point that a hand rips out from time and space and pulls everyone through the portal with them. And guess who it is? It's our best boy Vizon! Our best boy Vizon is here. He's like, oh, hey guys! What's up? And they're like, who the crap is this guy? He's like, you look like a proc. I want to kill this dude, whatever. And he's like, whoa. That's the things I get from hopping across time and space and just pulling you out of the vacuum and the void of darkness to save your life. That's the things I get? Okay. And then there's another being off in the corner just... And Toa Hellrock is like, what the fuck is that guy? And Vizon's like, well, if I were you, I wouldn't go near him. Hellrock is like, good. It's a good thing that I'm not you. And starts approaching this being in the corner, and her armor starts coming to life and starts strangling her until she's kind of like on the floor, writhing. And Vizon's like, you're right. I mean, actually, I think it'd be better if you were me. Because I don't think it'd be good if I was you right now. And turns out that this is, in the corner of this room, a great being. One of the great beings, and who is starting to talk about it. He's like, man, you guys are so cool. You guys were Reventions. You guys are so cool. Hi, what's going on? My name's, I'm a great being. But I touched the Mask of Life. I got cursed. So now, if anything that gets too close to me starts coming to life. I just animate everything into existence. It's really terrible. And so the other great beings kind of imprisoned me in this cell here. I can make furniture come to life. Isn't that cool? So I can help you guys with stuff, but you guys just gotta bust me out of this cell. You just gotta bust me out. It's not hard. And immediately the group starts dividing between, okay, Vizon is friends with this guy. Vizon is insane. This guy is also clearly insane, but he's imprisoned, and he's also kind of a threat. Do we, A, let him out, get him to take us to destroy Makuta, whole bunch of stuff? Do we, B, not let him out, try and figure some way to get out of here? Or do we... No, but it's time to fight. We gotta have a hands down, fisticuffs argument about all this stuff, because we can't have any discussion. Everything has to be fight to the death to make sure our side is right. over insane people, and Bizon's just hamburgers. Yes.
Isn't that like the fucking third time already?
Yeah,
That
with
they've
the
had
same group.
Where they fucking just fought over their.
Oh yeah, pretty much. It's just it's a very recurring.
Is that what you meant by fucking battles in 2009?
No, this is not what I meant, because we are gonna go finally, because that pretty much sums up the ending of Reign of Shadows. There's a little bit more to this, whatever. We're gonna go ahead and kind of skip over some of the other, because there's like riddles of the great beings, and there's like raid on Volcanus and some other that it's just like I'll maybe talk about it next time, because this is gonna be this episode is gonna be our last one of 2020, and then we will have one more to do after the new year. So we'll be taking a quick break, and then once we get after New Year's, we'll get back for the final kind of thing to talk about there, and maybe I'll go over a little bit there, but I'm gonna more focus on the movie Bionicle: The Legend Reborn, which starts with Montanui being trapped in the Mask of Life, falls onto this desert planet called Barra Magna as the Mask of Life, and wills himself into creating a body for himself through the Mask of Life. As he's looking around, he meets this Scarabax beetle, this little tiny baby beetle, and comes up and just hangs out with him. And he's like, oh man, that's a cool beetle. What's cool? The beetle touches the Mask of Life and allows the beetle to turn into a giant shield for him. Montanui is like, well, that was pretty cool. He's like, I was like, I almost killed you, but now you're my shield. That's pretty neat. Yes.
Is it just assumed that Montanui is the Toei Naika body?
It's very similar. He does wear the Mask of Life, but it is explicitly Montanui's will inhabiting it. Apparently the Onikas is just overridden, or we don't really know anything. But we do know that Montanui is aware that he is the Great Spirit, prior Great Spirit, now that Makuta is... Scary Terry is the new Great Spirit. But we also know that Montanui doesn't know if he has any powers. He doesn't really even seem to know what the Mask of Life can do. And so immediately is attacked by this scorpion being called I think it's a Vorax, is the name of it. As the scorpion thing starts attacking him, it's not a good time. He uses the shield to defend himself a little bit, and like the shield has like beetle pincers on the top and the bottom, and it snaps off the Vorax stinger tail, and he scares the thing off. Interesting thing to note as well, while the first three Bionicle movies were very heavily stylized to make them kind of resemble-ish what the toy figures looked like, but in a more stylized like form. This movie looks almost like they just took the toys and stop motioned it at some point. Like it is very clearly like, as far as like the actual design characteristics, they went very literal interpretation, where it's like you can see specific parts that are like, it doesn't look like it's armor pieces together. It's like, no, that's a specific Lego part. That's a specific Lego part on all these things, and you can see like the connectors and stuff. Like it looks very much like, and there are, like I said, like even there are some scenes in it where it looks like they just stop motioned with the toys for some of it, and then like added some CG layers on top. A vehicle comes roving up to, well, after that, the shield reverts back to the beetle. Montanui's like, thank you. He's like, I saved your life by not stepping on you. You saved my life from that thing by turning into a shield. How about we call it even and go our separate ways? And the beetle's like, nah, I'm sticking around. But in beetle talk. So he's like, oh, okay. And all of a sudden, this like land roving vehicle that skids up in the dust and turns into a shield. He grabs the detached vortex stinger the Vorax stinger that he had, and he grabs it like it's gonna be a dagger. And the dude in the car's like, identify yourself. He's like, oh, I am Montanui. I am just looking. He sounds almost like Xavier Renegade Angel.
Oh, I really hate that.
Oh, it's like that, but
I am Montanui.
But it's a lot less choppy. It's like, I am Montanui. I am Montanui. I am just a traveler looking for the nearest city. And the guy in the car is like, oh, you're looking for the nearest city? Just dig around in the dirt a little bit. You'll probably find some great lost civilization anywhere around here. He's like, that was a joke. Hi, my name is Menace. You want to come with me and some other people? Come on, get in the car, dude. Come on, get in the car, dude. So Montanui gets in the car, and they drive off to a Colosseum kind of arena where Menace is introducing them to a gladiatorial fight between two beings. I think it's Thrak and Akar, I think his name is. I can't remember. Full disclosure, I don't care about these characters so much. I just don't even remember most of their names. Like I remember a few here and there because they were a little bit important, but for the most part, it's like. And these two, like one is like Thrak is like an ice type looking dude. He basically looks like an Ice Cube Yeti with little icicle hair things, and he's got an axe and a shield. Akar is down there. He's a fire looking dude. He's got a fire sword and stuff, and they're duking it out, and they're fighting, they're shield bashing each other, and Akar disarms Thrak and goes, "Yield." He's like, "Yield to me. Admit defeat, and this goes nowhere further. This can stop right here." And Thrak goes, "All right, I yield." And Akar is like, "Great," and starts turning around, and the crowd is like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And then Thrak gets up and just bonk his on the head, and he is like, "Psych!" And Motunui is like up in the crowd, was like, "You call this honor? You call this bravery?" He's like, "Clearly, he was already defeated. He admitted defeat." And then, because all the other people in the arena, for the most part, that he's talking to and standing by, they're all like Matoran size. They are known as Agori. An interesting thing is, the Agori and the dudes and the big dudes down in the arena, they are, ooh.
Oh,
yeah.
I was supposed to change it at the halftime, and I just forgot. My bad, y'all.
No, Zach.
Oh, you're good, man. All right, we back on
My
board.
Channel shit.
All right, so, what was I gonna say? The Agori and these dudes in the arena fighting, who are known as Glatorian, are a primarily organic race. But the Glatorian are beings that generally have like some... they're basically cyberpunks. There's just cyberpunk, where they're like predominantly organic, and they have some metallic, kind of things on them and stuff, and implants and things to boost their skeletal structure and strength or whatever. And it's basically like the reverse version of the Toa, where they're like 85% organic, 15% mechanical. Whereas the Toa are like 85% mechanical, 15% organic.
In Night City, what makes you a Toa?
Getting Krata. No, getting Baraka.
Toys of them?
Yes, there were. That was the entire toy
you
line.
have any?
I do not have any of them.
Got it.
I said, fuck these things. Because you look at the design, they feel so uninspired. Well, okay, not that they're uninspired. It feels like such a derailing of the design concepts that had been led up to this point. And that was the thing. This was supposed to be the beginning of the second half, which was going to be Motunui's whole quest with these new other organic beings to try and find his way to get back to the Great Spirit Robot and save all his people from Makuta, from Scary Terry. These dudes in there, so the Agori, they're standing around, they're like, "Man, we're just simple Agori. We're not going to go down and fight a Glatorian." So, Motunui somersaults jumps down into the arena.
Oh, I hate this so much.
And, because Thrak is about to go and kill Akar. And he goes, "Halt, villain!" And he takes the Vortex Stinger tail that he had from earlier, turns it into a giant sword through the power of the Mask of Life, now sword and shield, and beats him up. And then they're like, "Boo, boo, Thrak, you are disqualified because you did the bad thing. You've brought shame and dishonor to your village. Akar is the winner." And Akar is like, "Thank you, stranger." He's like, "Thank you." He's like, "Thank you, stranger." And Motunui is like, "No problem. The victory was yours. The honor is yours as well." And he's like, "Here." And so he's like, "Well, you helped me out. So here's his shield. You can take it as yours." He's like, "Oh, no. The honor was yours. The shield is yours as well." And Akar's just like, "Okay." Throws the shield away. I got plenty of other shields anyway. This is basically where we get introduced to this concept that Barra Magna is a barren desert planet with a bunch of races living on it. To deal with scarcity of viable products, like a lot of them live in some villages and stuff, but the way that these societies have figured out how they're going to better divvy up resources and stuff, they have gladiatorial events where they have, number one Glatorian, number two Glatorian, or whatever from each village that will go and combat for resources, whether it's this specific type of metal, whether it's weapons, whether it's vehicles, whether it's like water or food or resource, whatever. That's how they settle everything in combat. Now, there are some rules to Glatorian combat, however. Number 1, fights to the death. Forbidden. Nobody fights to the death. Once someone yields, that's it. It's over. If you yield and then get back up to fight, you're immediately disqualified and basically banished from your village. Everyone hates you. The winner gets pretty much anything they said that they wanted, but they can't really ask and try to add on stuff after the fact of the match. And that the forms of combat can be in like physical gladiatorial combat or with like racing vehicles. Well, there's a few other rules here and there for the most part, but it is a very like toned down version of gladiatorial Rome. Because obviously like with the whole like in Rome you had like chariot events and you had the gladiatorial arenas and stuff, and this is just like this is the more Nickelodeon friendly version of these things.
Still death.
Yes. I think they also there's this fruit that grows on plants called thorn axes, and they can use like the berries on them to shoot, and they kind of explode spikes or whatever. So sometimes they'll fight with those, or they'll fight with shields and swords or spears or whatever. And so after the match, and nobody knows how the planet got to be like this. They just know it's always really kind of been like this. It's weird. So Montanui ends up talking and meeting Metis again at the end of the thing, and Akar, and talking to them or whatever. And they're like, "So where are you trying to go to?" He's like, "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." That's all I can see Montanui as. And it is implied that like Montanui just doesn't really know how to interact with other people. He is formally a deity and has never really had to actually talk to anybody as like an equal.
By God, what do you
By
mean?
God, what do you mean? Hey, I need some of that virus that you made. He goes up to Makuta.
This is terrible.
Yeah. That's what I want. Montanui going, "I need some of that virus you guys made." And so he basically explains that he gives the whole like, "I was a deity and a giant robot, and I had rule over my people, and now I've been forced from my home and must get back to them. I come from another world." And Agar's just like, and all of a sudden from there's like, "Oh my God, I fucking knew it!" And this girl runs out. She's like, "Hi, my name is Kina. I come from this village, and I always knew, and everybody said I was always crazy for believing there was other life out there in the universe, but now I know that there is, and you, my friend, just won me a lot of money." Interesting note, if I recall correctly, Kina's voice actress is the same, or no, I'm sorry, it's not. It has something to do with like Kina was designed a little bit as like Greg Farshtey, with Greg Farshtey's wife in mind. Like he designed, I can't remember if it was like her character mannerisms or if it was the voice actress. I can't remember. I do know that in the Dark Mirror, the Kingdom. No, it was the Dark Mirror. In the Dark Mirror, there was also like an audio podcast version of it, and his wife did play Toa Tuyet in those. Yes, Tristan.
Are you sure his wife just wasn't a fucking weirdo looking robot?
Fuck, I don't know, man. I mean, they're not together anymore anyway, so who really cares?
Of course not. He made a fucking Bionicle after her.
Yes.
Love died after Bionicle.
Remember,
Bitch
guys,
wanted
it's
a fucking Tahoe.
Remember, love's not real.
She wanted a Tahoe and she got a Tuyet.
Yeah, I guess.
That's what happened.
Rip. And so Akar's like, "No, Kina, you know that there's no way that..." She's like, "No, I totally knew that there were people from other planets and stuff. We gotta help this guy out. I know a place that we can go." And so the movie just ends up being like, "Oh no, we gotta go back to my village, and then we're gonna make something cool there. I'll be able to show you guys about." And they go to the village, but they get attacked by bone bandits or whatever the hell they're called. They're basically just like it's basically just Mad Max happening around them. They've got roving and they fight and stuff. They find their way to this cave, and Kina's like, "Look at this. It has a bunch of resources. Apparently the world used to be one big planet, and there was a huge catastrophe that happened, and now it's got split into Boda Magna, Bara Magna, and Aqua Magna. And there's this giant schematics for a giant robot, and Matsunui's like, "My God, that's me on the schematic." And they're like, "Do you think you two are related?" He's like, "No, that looks exactly like the thing that is taking over my people, that I must go and fight."
I hate this.
Oh, I do too. It's roses are red, violets are blue. I have suffered, and so must you. It's also that's just a
I
great.
hate that he talks like him.
It really does sound like it, just a lot less choppy, and so one thing leads to another. Like we could take this information, whatever. Meets up with Menace. Now at the same time, so of the races, there you've got the friggin'. You have the Agori are a race. The Glotorian are kind of a race as well, but they're not all necessarily the same race. It's kind of weird. We do know they all reproduce sexually. So love does exist in this universe. Which is, I guess, the weirdest compensation. Yes.
You don't need love to reproduce. Just ask my parents.
Tell that to Greg. Oh, yikes. Big swamp womp. Frick!
We now go to commercial break.
Friggin'. But yeah, so, what was I gonna say? Blah, blah, blah. Montanui starts talking to them and saying, I will go and we need to fight. Because they're talking about basically the raiders that are going around. They've got the Vorax that are going on. You've got the Skrull. The Skrull are this big bad guy warrior race going around doing stuff. Anyway, Montanui's like, if I defeat them, maybe you guys can help me. And Akar's like, no, listen, man. Like, I've seen you fight. You're dog shit. So stay here. Stay here. I'll train you up. I'll train you good, right? I'll learn you to be able to fight good. And Montanui goes, okay. But also, in that same point, gives all the Glotorian that are there with him, because they also found this other Glotorian named Gresh, who's like a jungle dude, but he's been seriously injured and he'll never, I don't know. Uses the Mask of Life to give these guys elemental powers. He's basically just making new Toa out of them and gives them like better, shinier, he picks up their weapons that are like made of bone and like stick and just makes them super badass, super crazy weapons. They're like, oh my god, this is so cool. And they're like, well, thank you, friend. I knew I could count on you. And Montanui's like, interesting. I've been called many things in my time, but never friend. Thank you, friend. And it's like the most like brain cell way to like talk to people. That's just Montanui.
I hate this so much.
Oh yes, like, oh man, you're telling me. Anyway, one thing leads to another. They end up going back to meet up with a bunch of Glotorian stuff so that Montanui can start entering into the games and stuff. Turns out it's kind of a trap because Gresh and Kina and Akar, they all get captured and lead. So Montanui, God, what are they called again? The Skrull are gonna take over a bunch of villages because they've been amassing a giant army, and Montanui goes, Tuma, leader of the Skrull. I am Montanui. I challenge you into one-on-one only combat, unless you're afraid. If I win, I get my friends to be free. If you win, I don't know. And so Tuma's just like, easy peasy. They go into fight. Tuma is very much just, I mean, this is like Montanui's like 4th time in combat ever. And so he's just kind of like, he's doing the Mayweather approach and just trying not to get hit. And is doing well at not getting hit, but is not actually getting anything in. And so up in the stands and the cages, like, Kina, they're like, oh no, he's getting beat. Oh no, he's getting beat up. Whatever. Like, no, look, he's listening to the thing. He's learning the fight. He's watching his opponent and learning how to fight them. Montanui ends up just watching all this and beats the shit out of Tuma. And then the Skrull like, oh, we were defeated. And then he leaves because he's banished, whatever. And Metis comes up and he's like, oh, cool, man, you won. But hand over the sword and shield. That's not a joke. Turns out it was me. I'm the villain all along. Me, little Agori. And he's like, you would betray your own kind. And he's like, what have the Agori ever done for me? So I teamed up with all these sand pirates and stuff. And we're gonna take over the planet or some shit. I don't know. And on the horizon is this, because he gets rid of this beetle, his little beetle. The beetle's name is Click. Because there's one part where Kina comes up and sees the beetle. He's like, It's like, huh, what's his name? I bet it's Click. And Matanui's like, yes, I like that. Click it is. It just gets worse the longer it goes on.
I hate this.
I do too. And so,
The line, it's not just the fucking voice, the lines are so goddamn bad.
they really are.
I've never had anyone call me friend.
I've never had. I've been
Fuck
called many
yourself.
things. Deity, damn you, God senpai. I don't. God senpai. Why won't God senpai notice me? Literally what all the Mature have been asking for forever. And so, so on the horizon is, you know, all of a sudden there's this giant purple monster thing rising out of the sand, and everyone freaks out and they're like, oh my god, no way, what are we gonna do? And scares off all the bad guy villains, and then turns out that the giant monster is just a bunch of beetles. It's just a bunch of beetles that were made together to make a giant mecha beetle. Because friendship. And
feel
so
like I'm watching Bio Broly.
yeah. And so Montanui and some of the other Glatorian warriors, they get together because they know that Metis is going to come back with his armies. They're going to have a big old fight. They're going to have a big time battle to the battle. And decides to give out more super neat elemental Toa abilities here and there. And
Is that how he does it? Is it
zip zap zoody bop? I don't know. And then they go and gives them some fancy swords and weapons and stuff. And they go in, they defeat the enemy group, army thing. Metis is there, and Metis is like, oh, please spare me, won't you? Won't you spare me? I didn't really mean it. And Matu is like, LMAO, no way, loser. And like touches Metis to the Mask of Life and turns Metis into a snake. And Metis is just the snake with the regular head he had before. It's like we could presume like a humanoid-ish head. And he's like, you may have defeated me, but you won't defeat my armies! And slithers away to fuck off. And then they pick up this shield that that I think Tuma had. And it has like this giant, like ornate, like labyrinth-like design on it, and they're like, wait, we saw this thing earlier, it's the same thing, and it's a shield. Like, no, wait, it's not a design, it's a maze, we need to go there. And so Matanui ends up figuring, because they're like, the great being, because everyone on the planet is just like, fuck the great beings, they abandoned us. You know, this is why the world is so bad. Because what we find out is basically what happened was, and this is what we find out from some of the other books and some of the comics pretty much, is basically 100,000 years ago, or more, there was the planet known as Spherus Magna. And it had a bunch of different climates and varieties and stuff, whatever. And the Great Beings lived on it. And there's a bunch of tribes that were on it. And the Great Beings were like, ew, responsibility for leading other people? Fuck that, I want to play with Legos. I just wanted to do experiments. So they took like a warrior from each of like the 7 different tribes, the elemental tribes, and gave them, or they weren't elemental at the time, they were just 7 tribes, and gave them super cool, mega awesome elemental abilities to lead the tribes together. These are known as the elemental lords that would rule over there. At some point, and the elements that I have, you got your fire, you got your jungle, you got your water, you got your ice, you got your stone, you got your, well, it's not stone, it's rock, but then you got your earth, and then you got your dirt. Oh no, it's sand, whatever. We've got 3 things that are the same: earth, sand, and rock.
You've also got jungle as an element, bud.
Yeah, well, that's a thing too. Also, speaking of which, there are jungle Matoran in the Matoran universe. And there's jungle Toa. They're called Toa of the Green is the title.
Toa of the lazy we ran.
But they're not Lamatoran.
They're not Lamatoran, no. Lamatoran are air Matoran.
Swamp people.
They're just Louisianas.
They're just all
Yeah.
Louisianas.
Yes.
You're giving me an aneurysm for fucking anger at how stupid
I
this
know. I'm just...
You're
I don't
trying
know.
your hardest, man.
I'm trying my... Dude, I'm trying my hardest for some people who tried way too hard.
I don't blame you, I blame Greg Farsty.
I do too.
Don't worry, we can send this video to him. I'm sure he won't care or watch it.
Yeah. He'd be like, cool, downvote. I'm not even gonna watch it. That's like my headcanon, is I love to think that Greg Parsley just goes onto YouTube and looks up what new Bionicle videos have come out in like the last 4 months. Just dislike all of them.
First 15.
Just dislikes all of them. Doesn't even watch any of them, just out of spite.
First
I
15
hear
is
you.
this proves that love is in the Bionicle universe. He's like, fuck.
He was like, no, you're wrong, and here's why.
I hear he's too busy having to have his wife take half his shit anyway, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a minute.
Oh,
Big
well.
yikes. But,
Big Farsty69 is his username.
you tell me it's not Bionicle Boy 420?
Love isn't real.
Yeah. So yeah, so anyway, the Elemental Lords, one of the Elemental Lord of Earth ended up finding that there was this really cool, interesting thing in the planet's core called energized protodermis. It's a really cool, super neat thing that they could use. But the Earth Elemental Lord goes, no, I'll just wait until it comes back up to the top of the Earth, and then, because it's a new resource, all the other Elemental Lords will want to fight over it, and then when they're all weakened, I'll just come in and kill them all and take everything for myself. This did not go very well. Because the Great Beings were just off doing whatever they wanted to, and they saw this elemental energy, this energized protodermis, and they're like, oh, that's a weird thing. They realized that if used improperly, the energized protodermis could destroy the planet. So like, well, fuck, we need to figure a way to prevent that from happening. So while they're doing that, the Elemental Lords and all the Agori and Glatorian are fighting each other in a giant planet-wide civil war. And they're just destroying each other, whatever, all this stuff happened. In the meantime, the Great Beings commission a bunch of Agori to be slave workers and build a giant frickin' robot. And they build this robot that will be called the Great Spirit Robot, and its whole mission is to escape the planet, observe other planets and cultures and stuff, and learn a lot about the universe, so that, because they already know that the planet's going to be destroyed, so that when it comes back, it'll be able to reform the planet. The Great Spirit Robot ends up leaving and sends Montanui off on its journey into space to go observe stuff. As this happens, the energized protodermis bubbles up out of the planet of Spherus Magna and shatters the planet into 3 parts. Also, the name of the war for all this was like the Core War. The War for the Core. And separates the planet into the water moon of Aqua Magna, the jungle moon of Bota Magna, and the big ol' remnant world of Spherus Magna. That is all that is left. And if you look at it, when it happens, it looks like, oh look, you got little, it looks like it was interesting, but you got Bar Magna, you got Bota Magna, you got Aqua Magna, an explosion left a lot of cool clouds. And that's what the fucking symbol was for the entire time. It was supposed to be a subliminal message to just keep imprinted throughout the Matoran universe to convince Montanui to never forget his mission of
Not dying.
doing that. Yeah. Yes, Tristan.
So because it's supposed to symbolize the 4 virtues or whatever?
Yeah, the 3 virtues. Unity, duty, destiny. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's more bullshit that Draga made up? They're like,
No.
Oh, yeah.
No. That wasn't bullshit that they made up. That was something that was already in their universe. It was subliminal propaganda that everyone was just supposed to keep repeating and stuff over a thing to, keep it going, but as a subliminal, like, drink Coca-Cola. But instead of that, it was like, restore Spherus Magna back together, Montanui, don't you ever forget. But none of the Matoran or anything would use it. Because that was the thing, is when the Great Spirit was sent off, all the Matoran and all the beings in the Matoran universe had no true sentience. Not like they have now. They just had nothing. They were just robots, for the most part. This changed when one of the great beings snuck aboard the Great Spirit Robot before it left off, went to super space, and put his consciousness in the body of a Matoran named Velika, which is the weird Matoran back from 2006 that spoke in riddles the entire time. And he just snuck into the universe to just hang out and stuff. And for whatever reason, him just being in the Matoran universe created this weird sentience awakening in all the beings in the Matoran universe to make them just not just straight robots. over time. Way to give a lot of importance to someone who literally didn't fucking matter. Just, I mean, it's like, that's, like, you see why 2009 is just a...
Poe Matoran lives matter.
Stop. I'm just like that's all I can come up with. Like 2009 is just so disappointing because it just feels like we need to find a way to justify things that didn't need to be justified. What was wrong with just having Valika as being this weirdo Poe Matoran that just liked to speak in goofy riddles? Nope, it's got to be a great being in disguise. Has to cause the entire sentient awakening in the Matoran universe. That's just him. We don't explain how it works. We don't explain why it happened. Just did. Just deal with it.
Sounds like you're a bit salty.
I'm just so... Like, Bionicle is just a series that I love so much. And obviously, like, we've committed to making over 22 hours so far of me standing here talking to you about it. If I didn't love it, I wouldn't be here. And they get to this. And it's just like... So...
It's not your fault, man.
I know, man.
It's Greg Farsty 69. Big Farsty boy.
Yeah. So anyway, the 2009 will continue into 2010, which 2009 and 10 for the most part is the end of the Generation 1 Bionicle series. So we lead with Motunui finds out through some cave paintings and stuff, and trying to figure out where the Great Ones used to live in this maze or whatever. Finds out that originally that the Great Beings were supposed to have made a second Great Spirit robot. Cool. Unfortunately, they didn't get to do it. Boo. Motunui is kind of a bit upset about this, but finds out apparently that there was a prototype robot that was built before the Great Spirit robot. The thing is, a lot of so there's this giant mega village now that all the villages have kind of moved together to be in. Apparently, a lot of these giant weird structures around are just pieces of the original giant robot that the Great Beings made. So Motunui goes in and tries to convince the village elders and stuff on this planet to, hey, let me destroy your entire homes and use it to build a giant Rock'em Sock'em robot body for myself. I can sense that Scary Terry is on his way here and he will destroy everything. So can you guys please let me use your entire homes as a giant fighting armor body? This does not go over very well at first. But then they go, hey, remember how he did all the fighting and stuff in that movie, that thing that just happened? So yeah, let's just let him do it. So they get all the pieces together and they put the power and the thing.
I hate this. I legitimately hate. When you started, we were like, but guess what? They built another robot, but then they didn't. I was like, there's still gonna be a way to build a giant robot.
Oh yeah, of course.
There.
It's just an inferior version. Because basically what happened is they built the prototype version and it just fucking exploded. And that's why the parts are all bad. And then they were like, okay, well maybe we'll not do that. Well, maybe we'll make it better next time. So Scary Terry now has the better version of the robot. Motunui has I'm gonna wake this thing up and I hope we don't explode version of the robot.
Yeah.
And he leaves his corporeal form and just exists as the mask of life and energy and powers up the robot. It comes up just as Scary Terry, boo, lands on the planet. Now, as this is happening in
How big is this planet for that robot to be able to land on it just like willy-nilly?
I mean, it's big. I don't know. It's probably Earth or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But I was gonna say. So at the end of Reign of Shadows and whatever, one of the big things is that the Toamari went to the island of Zekaz because they were doing some spying. Because apparently the Skakti as a species had all just been like, yeah, well Makuta won the universe, so we're just gonna side with him now. And then the Skakti are all like, we're gonna do spooky oogie boogie experiments and stuff, and the Skakti are gonna be the #1 best guy. Who defeat Makuta? So they take a Vortex, some other race or whatever, and the other 5 scary spermy Parakas. And they all just dump them into a bowl of energized Protodermis.
And make it.
And make the thing. Because the Toamari are watching, they're like, what are they doing? Like, we have no idea. They're like, we're gonna make a soup. Step 1, ingredient.
For easy bake oven.
Easy.
Need salt.
Needs
and sugar
salt. Needs
and flour.
scary sperm. Just pours the other 5 Baraka in there, and out comes this horrible abomination known as the gold skinned being. There's just being really a night like it's really awful. Yes, Chris.
Was there an awful toy of it?
There was.
Do you have it?
Yes. Question. Kind of.
It's a
So in 2010.
thing, isn't it?
It's awful. It's the worst thing. It really is. While I explain this, I'll see if I can find a picture of it. So in 2010, they did a series of Bionicle known as the Stars line. What the Stars line was supposed to be was like hey, let's take some of the best characters we've made and have like an anniversary, like top it all off, best thing idea of these characters. We got Tahu, Takanuva, we got a yellow Rockshi, so Rockshi Heat Vision, okay, cool. We got Nektan, one of the leaders of the Skakti. We get a one of the Skrull in there, and Gresh, that one green Glatorian guy who really didn't do a whole lot. And we'll make those. And what they did was the biggest fucking affront to Bionicle fans. I'll dig it out next time. I can't be fucked to do it right now. They murdered my boys. They made these things like I'm talking like each set is like 10 pieces.
Oh.
10. Like the original like baseline 2001 Toa were like there's more pieces in the torso and the head.
Oh, so they did like what they do with Transformers toys. Like instead of transforming, you just fucking spin them and that's it.
Oh, so
They
basically what they
simplified
did
it.
was with these ones is you have the body piece, you have a whole ass arm piece for each one, you have a hand, you have a whole ass leg pieces, you have feet, you have head, mask. No eyes that go into the head. The whole head is just a translucent, so it can be the eyes in there. And then whatever weapon they had. It's insulting how awful these things are. Yes, Tristan.
Were both legs one piece?
No, both legs were not one piece. But they might as well have been. They're just so awful.
That sucks.
So each of these, so if you combine all of these together as a combiner, you can create the gold-skinned being. It's just disappointing. And so, this will lead us into the 2010 storyline. Apparently, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. There's a whole bunch of Rockshi and a whole bunch of Exotoa moving to the south. So we now know, based on the map, that this is to the foot of the Great Spirit Robot. Tahu, Kopaka, and a bunch of other people, they're getting ready to go out on a raid. They're trying to figure out what's going on there and check that out. As Makuta, in the Great Spirit Robot, lands on Bara Magna, as Matanui stands up and is now ready to face Makuta in a big old game of Rock'em Sock'em Robot. Matanui initially starts to try and convince Makuta that, hey man, listen, you don't have to be evil. Our destiny is to work together and restore Bara Magna into Spherus Magnum. Pull the other planets together and make the 3 planets just one big one all again. Got a fixed planet. We can do that. We have the ability now. And Makuta goes, hey Lamau, I don't need you to tell me how to rule a whole civilization that if they don't want to listen to me, I'll just squash them. And they immediately start getting into a good old-fashioned case of fisticuffs. And this will lead us into the 2010 storyline. I say 2010 very loosely. It is like mostly 2009 and then just a little bit 2010. And sorry to leave off on such a fucking bummer note, but that's where we're going to have to leave off for now. We're going to take a quick break for a few weeks until after the holidays are over. And after the new year, we will be back for the final episode of Bionicle Book Learning. Anything before we go?
Yeah, okay, so, because it's before Christmas, what would Bionicle Christmas be called, and what would they gift each other?
Boxmas.
Boxman. I'm not disagreeing with this.
Is there a Bionicle Santa?
Oh man, I wish.
It's just
Santa
Tarzani
Bonk?
in a hat.
Bonka Claus?
Or he just has a hat.
It's just.
I deliver gifts.
It's just Scary Terry with a little Santa Man hat.
No,
Santa's
no,
V's
no.
on.
Oh, Santa is V's on! Santa V's on! Santa V's on!
You big
Santa
bad.
V's on!
I give you rock.
Have a rock. Have a rock. Have a rock. This is just glass. Have a rock. It's broken glass.
You're missing the important part. Santa Vizon's breaking everybody's house.
Yeah, that's all. Oh my
He doesn't have
god.
to, he just teleports
He
into
breaks
it.
their windows and then gives them their window shards.
That's the best part. That's the greatest part.
No, he
could
teleports
just
in,
teleport
he puts it in, he breaks the window, kicks out into a teleport.
Oh man, Santa Vizon is a thing that I wish we could. That would have saved Bionicle. Santa Vizon. If anyone is out there, make Santa Vizon a thing, please. That would.
Have these on, just get a tiny Santa hat.
Santa Vizon confirmed. We're gonna
Yes.
make this happen. But all right, that's gonna be it for now. We'll be back in after the new year.